All right. Well, I just want to welcome everybody to our March version of our Echo Network. So, just as a reminder, it stands for Early Childhood Hoosiers Outdoors. So, we're really excited that you all are here to join us. I know we have at least one new face. So, welcome, Melissa. Is joining us from over at Oak Farm, I believe. So, welcome to you. Since we have a small group today, let's just go around and do a few introductions. I think most of us know each other, but let's just share our name, maybe where we work or how we work with kiddos. And then if you can share with us, what is your favorite activity to do with kids in the spring? And I know we might want to get long-winded with this, but let's keep it to 10 seconds or less if we can share our favorite thing to do with kiddos in the spring. So Molly, will have you start, and then Stephanie, you're right underneath Molly on my computer, so we'll have you on deck.
So I'm Molly and I teach preschool and like plant identification is one of the things that my kids love to do, and they like to know if they're good or if they're bad, if you're allowed to touch them, if you're not allowed to touch them. And so that's something that we really like to do.
Perfect. Stephanie, you're up next, and then Joe, you're on deck.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Hancock. I work at Mary Lee as the Residence Life Coordinator and Environmental Educator. In the spring, my favorite thing to do is go with the children out to explore the vernal pond. Um, I love getting kids out there and seeing what there is to find whatever time in spring we are out there.
Perfect. Joe's up, and then Melissa, I don't know if you're able to type in the answers or if you're able to unmute, that would be great. And then Carla will be after Melissa.
Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Pounds. I work a lot to help people who work with children in natural environments. Uh, I don't work with kids directly on a daily basis. I do live on a lake, so one of my favorite things to do this time of year is to watch the migratory birds pass through. And we just had about 50 grebes this morning, so it's pretty cool to see.
Thank you, Joe. Melissa, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Melissa. Just gonna unmute because I'm actually at work, but I am able to just listen in today.
Yeah, not a
And
problem.
my favorite thing is we've been doing bird identification of our backyard birds, and the students have been absolutely loving it. So it's been a great time.
Perfect. Thank you, Melissa and Carla.
Carla Gull, I'm at Mary Lee as well. I'm the director of the graduate program in environmental education there, but then also do a lot with early childhood with research and writing and podcasting and a variety of other things. So let's see, worms, I think hands down, worms are like the highlight of spring. There's something alive, something they can find that they didn't necessarily know is there.
Perfect. Well, my name is Caitlin. I am the Director of Education and Outreach at Mary Lee. So I get to work alongside Stephanie and Carla and even Joe and some great teachers there. And my favorite thing in the spring right now, I have a 3-year-old, and it's just so much fun to see the world through his eyes in the spring because on Friday we made a giant snowman at our house, and then he got to watch it melt all weekend, and he was like completely devastated. So it's just interesting to see the world through his eyes, and right now he's into mud. So I got him like one of those nice full body zip up suits for when it's a little bit cooler outside, and he has just been having a ball with that thing. I don't even know what color it is anymore, to be honest, because it's just covered in brown, which I think is fantastic. So
That's awesome.
perfect. Well, thank you all for introducing yourself. I'm really excited for our speaker today. Molly is joining us from over in Warsaw with the YMCA Early Learning Preschool. She does hold a bachelor's in elementary education and is certified in nature school. I know, Molly, you joined us last year.
Wow.
when we had our training at Mary Lee in collaboration with the Forest School Teacher Institute with FISTE.
Yeah.
So we're happy to have you there. And this is our 20th year teaching preschool. So congratulations, Molly. That's a lot to be proud of.
I'm
Um,
that old.
you don't look it. Molly does live on a small homestead where she raises her own beef, chickens, and even added some goats recently. And one of her favorite pastimes is canning. So we're so excited, Molly, to be learning from you and what you're doing at your YMCA Nature School. So I'm gonna let you take it away.
Okay. So, I've never done an adult presentation before ever in my entire life. So if I do this incorrectly, I'm very sorry. I'm so used to just talking to 3s and 4-year-olds. It's a little unsettling to talk to adults. But
You are
anyway,
perfectly fine, Molly. You're gonna do
okay.
fantastic.
Um, so I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of a background on how I got to nature school and how I ended up involving our preschool into the nature school. And so, like Caitlin said, I've been teaching for 20 years and I've done many, many different kinds of curriculums. And a lot of the curriculums that I've taught were the ones that I learned from my college experience, where it was circle time, letter A this week, letter B this week, letter C this week. And I did it for years, years and years and years, because that's what I knew was right. And that's what I knew what we were supposed to do. And then I got introduced to the high scope curriculum and I immediately fell in love. And it is about the children instead of about myself. And it's about what they want to learn instead of what I want them to learn about. And I don't do anything halfway. And so we got the training and we jumped in with 2 feet and we've never looked back. And um, I have noticed a huge difference in the children and their attitudes because it's something that they want to learn about. It's something they're interested in about. And so it just makes teaching so much better for me and for my assistants and it makes our classroom run so much smoother than it was. Um, but even with that great curriculum, I kept feeling something was different. Something we need more. We need more. And then I got invited to the overnight stay and it just kind of clicked. And I was like, this right here is what we're missing. And I came home with a fire lit underneath of me. And the classes that we were taught were amazing. And the teachers that you guys had so much passion for nature and the outdoors and how important it is to the kids. And I came and I told my boss, I said, this is what we're doing. And I was like, you can help me or I can figure it out myself. But I was like, this is what we're doing. And she was like, go for it. And I started investigating. We had the continued classes with Joe, and I had to do my presentation about what I wanted for the preschool. And that's just what we've been doing this year is my small vision for our first year. And so I wanted to see how this year would pan out. And then I was going to build on that after this year. So that's just a little bit on how I got to the nature path. And I have loved this entire year of so far, like I guess obviously we're not done, but it has just been so life-changing for me. And to see the kids' smiles and the happiness that it just brings them. And on the first page right there, you can see the smiles on these little kids' faces. And it warms my heart because I know that we're doing something right when I see them like that. So so um so the little girl on the far left, the little redhead, um she was very afraid to get wet. She didn't want her fingers to get wet when we first started talking about nature school. And as you can see, that is not what happened in that picture. And you'll get to see a little video in a little bit, but they're literally jumping in huge mud puddles in the back. and she's covered from head to toe in mud and water. And I took that picture and I sent it to her mom, and her mom was just so excited because that was one of the things that was bothering the mom, I guess, is that she didn't like to get her hands dirty. And then the little girl in the middle, we got a grant. Well, actually, we got two grants. We got a grant for all the children to get rain gear, and then we got another grant for the snow gear. So all the kids have their own snowsuits, and the gloves that she's got on, that was part of our grant as well. And it was such a huge blessing to get both of those, because we've been able to go out even more than I was hoping for because of those things. That's just a little bit. So we'll go on to the next. Hopefully I do this right. Did I do it right? Can you see what I'm seeing? Okay. All right. So then I just kind of wrote down some goals that I had for our nature school. And we're just going to hit on those a little bit as we go through. So some of them were to connect and have a deeper appreciation for nature, problem solving, creativity, strengthen small and large motor skills, independence, reflection, exploration, help in developing opportunities for leadership roles and team building, create a safe environment, least amount of disturbance to the land, and then to bring high scope into nature school. Because I didn't want to abandon our curriculum. And so we are trying to incorporate the high scope curriculum into nature school. So we're just going to go to the next one. Okay. So a deeper appreciation for nature. So these are just a few things that we have discovered out in our little school. And obviously there's a lot of things that we find spontaneously. And as you can see in the picture, I'm holding a book, but there's a cat by my foot. We have named her Ivy. She lives in the woods and the kids love her. And she comes and visits us. We try not to feed her, but the kids have become very attached to her, and she comes and visit whenever she hears us out there. When we go out into nature school, we try to bring stories out with us about what we might see that day. The one I'm reading now, it's about leaves, and that was when the leaves were starting to change on the trees, and the different oh gosh, sorry, the word just went out of my head. The different seasons, that's the word, is very important. And they notice every time we go outside when the leaves have changed colors, even if it's just very minute. They notice how drastically the leaves have changed. And right now, we don't have any leaves at all. And so that's another topic of conversation. Why don't we have leaves? When do they come back, and why do they come back? That's always a big thing. And the little creature we found, we couldn't figure out what it was. We thought it was kind of like a newt. It had legs, but it kind of had a body of a snake. I couldn't figure it out. We tried to Google it. And they kept it in one of our bug finders, and because that was our morning class, and they wanted to keep it for the afternoon class so they could see it as well. And they put some dirt in there, they put some leaves in the bug finder, and we talk about how we can be gentle. How do we be gentle with nature? Because we are visitors in their home, and we shouldn't come here to destroy, we shouldn't come here to hurt. And so that was a nice conversation, because we have some kids that could have been a lot rougher with the poor little fellow, but they were very excited to share it with the afternoon class. And then on the far right, we have a little guy. We put a thermometer and a rain catcher out there, and we measure the rain and the snowfall, and we measure it, and we have a book, and we keep record of what the weather was when it was more rain or was less rain, or less water, however we want to do it. but we have it all logged in this little book. And right now he's looking at the temperature because it was starting to get colder, and he wanted to see what the temperature had dropped to. And so he was counting his numbers. So even in nature, you can have letters and numbers and all that classroom stuff, but it would just be outside. So we have those in two different spots. So we put one right on the outside of our nature school, and then we put one deeper into our nature school so we could notice the difference in the shade and in the sun. So we have them in two different spots. Okay. And then, so the next slide is about problem solving. Even with high scope, problem solving is one of the really big things we encourage the children to do. And it's something that we ask questions on. How can you? We want their brains to keep going. We want them to ask their friends, how do you think we should do this? And we want their solution to be their trophy. We want them to be excited about when they solve the problem, when they figure it out, not what the teacher told them to do or how to do it. So this little girl with the pink coat on, she weighs probably about 30 pounds wet, and she wanted to build a rock pile. So she spent the entire time we were outside finding the biggest rocks, and she wanted to know where she could put it. And I was like, well, it needs to be somewhere that it was safe and that people wouldn't be able to trip over it. And so she and another friend worked together, and they lifted them together, one on each side, and then they moved into a spot, and there's like this big huge rock pile out there. That's all she wanted to do. She just wanted to move the rocks from one place to the next place. But she asked her friend, how can we do this and where should we put them? So the video, this little fella, it was acorn season. Acorns were falling everywhere, and he wanted to know what was in them. And so I'm just going to let this play out. Good night. So as you can see, he crushed that thing, and he loved the fact that there was actually something inside of it. It wasn't necessarily what he thought it was going to be, because obviously there was a worm inside of it, because that's what happens when the nuts fall. The worms get inside and eat the inside. But he, on his own, figured out how he was going to get the nut open. All we did is encouraged. We used the words, what do you see around us? Because we don't take a lot of school items outside. We just use what's there. And so he looked around and he was like, oh, I think this heavy rock would open it. And we're like, oh, well, let's see. And that's what he ended up doing. And he was so excited. I got a text from his mom later that day saying how excited he was that he got it open. And then the far left or right picture, this little guy, he's holding a really tall stick, and he wanted to touch a really tall branch, but he wasn't tall enough. And so he decided, and I watched him do it. I was just watching to make sure he was safe. I didn't discourage because we want to encourage that adventurous play. And he got up, and there's probably about 20 logs out there. And he went and he wobbled them, and he found the most sturdy log. And it was so funny because it's not even something I would have said to him, but he found the one that was the least wobbliest, and he got up and he touched the limb that he wanted to touch. But if I had, and but as a teacher, if you interfere, then they won't be able to discover those things that is so natural to them. They have natural problem solving skills that if we say the right words, just really helps them blossom in that area. So we do a lot of problem solving outside. Next one. Okay. So creativity. So creativity is one of the things that I love to see children use because they have it everywhere and they have so much of it. So this top picture, yes, those are bones in her hands. We we have no idea what kind of bones they are. Um, but I actually took them home and washed them and boiled them before I let them play with them. But they've been cleaned and they've been washed, but they bring them back and they use them as like spoons and stirring sticks and they build with them and there's all different kinds of them. But we are not sure what kind of animal was. But they were really excited to find them. And I think they're playing store with them right now. And she's offering them for this other little girl to bake with them. And then in the picture with the three little girls, with the pink on, they made a home. And so outside they made their own couch, they made their own TV. And then here they were making us dinner. So there was a pie, and then there was a lasagna, and then in the pot there was some soup. And it was delicious. It was so good. But these three love to play house outside, and they've created their own little house. And then down here on the little video, it had rained the night before, and so there was water for them to play with in their pots and spoons. It's always fun when it rains because then they have that extra creative level there. So I don't want to keep talking. Do I ask for questions? What do I I feel like I'm just talking,
Oh,
talking.
you're fine, Molly. I'm
Okay.
wondering, I don't know if you're going to get to this or maybe we can interject it here. Could you tell us a
No.
little bit more about your space? I mean, it looks like you have a beautiful space, but like how close is this to your indoor classroom and some of your logistical pieces?
Yeah, I do have I don't know what slide it is. I do talk about it, but it's actually it's a bit of a distance from our actual school. Um and I will show you the outline of it. So my husband and I worked endlessly during the summertime to get it ready. And every time I thought I was ready, it wasn't ready, and I'd have to go in and cut some more poison ivy down and but I do show you the entire space without the kids, and I show you the boundaries and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, it's a great location, and but we aren't so far away that if something happened that we couldn't get help. That was a big important thing.
Yeah. You're
Um,
good. Just keep going, Molly.
all right, and then we have strengthen the motor skills. That's something that we do a lot of in the classroom, but there's so many ways that we can incorporate it outside as well. So this little guy on the left, he has been working his way up to get higher and higher up in this tree. And at the beginning of the year, he was down further, and he's just kind of inched his way up slowly, inch by inch. And this is as high as he was willing to go. But I'm assuming by the end of the year, it might be even higher. But again, I like to take pictures and send it to parents. And his mom was so giddy. Like she was so excited to see him just playing and just being up there in that tree and just climbing. And so obviously this is more large motor skills and being able to move our bodies, letting these kids move their bodies without limitation is amazing. And to see how happy it just happiness just radiates for them when they're just able to go and do. And this is just that rainy day activity we got to do. And then climbing and splashing, and that is all low large motor skills. Being able to balance, sliding, climbing. Sorry, that's me laughing. But to hear the kids say, "This is the best thing ever. We love this. We're so glad. We love to go to nature school." And then this little girl, she like I'm sorry, I don't remember who said it, but digging for worms. This little girl, that's her mastery. Like she will find worms anywhere and everywhere. And we have tweezers, like little kid tweezers that we have that go along with the bug boxes. And that's usually her go-to. She loves to sit in the dirt and she loves to just dig for little things, ants, bugs, worms. And that little tweezer motion is going to strengthen her hands for writing, for cutting. So large and small motor skills can be found in nature school as well. So independence is another high scope must. We want them to be able to open their packages. We want them to open their snacks. We want them to be able to make confident decisions, knowing that there might be a consequence to that choice. And some of them are natural consequences, and that's okay. It's okay for a child to know that, oh, if I do this, I could fall. And it's okay for kids to fall. And it's okay for them to understand that that might happen. And we talk about it. Like if we see them doing something that maybe is questionable, we talk about what may or may not happen and whether or not they want to continue with that choice. And a lot of them choose to go forward. And sometimes there is a natural consequence, but we talk about, okay, well, this is what happened. So let's go back and figure out how we can either do it better and safer or just do it differently. So this is them eating their snacks. So they have to open up all of their packages. They are in charge of their water bottles, bringing them out to nature school. That's not for something for Miss Molly to carry. I am not in charge of 20 different water bottles. And then in the little video, there's this vine, and they've turned it into a swing. They've turned it into a horse. And the independence comes from them talking to each other about whose turn it is. How are we playing with it today? But that vine is a huge part of nature school. They love it. And I'm afraid of the day that it might not be there or it might fall, but they really, really like it a lot. Okay, so this is a reflection and exploration. So we were given some binoculars for the kids to use, and we had microscopes, and we have just little things that they can use outside to explore nature around them. And they have discovered with binoculars that if you use them one way, they look a different way than if you switch them around and go the other way. So that's been very fun to see. The little girl in the middle, she wanted music one day, and she discovered that if I do this, then this pan sounds like this. And if I turn it around this way, then this pan sounds like that. But again, it's just a matter of allowing them to explore without too much teacher interruption. The reflection part, this is one of the goals I have for next year. We have not created our sit spots yet, but that is on my to-do list for next year. This year was kind of a let's see how it goes kind of a year. And so, but the sit spots is the reflection part that I really want to incorporate for next year that I haven't got to do it this year. So I'm just going to let that play out as we talk. But the leadership and team building in the video, the little guy in the orange, he's directing where this big, huge, long stick will go. And it's to help create this teepee over here. And so he's telling them how to do it, where to go, how to move it, who needs to help, how much help he needs. And so, and then he wants to add it to the TP, right? I don't know if TP is the right word, but that's what comes to mind. And so the leadership, natural leaders come outside, and he's definitely one of our natural leaders. Even on the inside, he's a natural leader. And but we always teach about how we can be a respectful leader. How can we talk to our friends to understand what you need from them with being kind and not putting down or demeaning on how you talk to them. And so he's come a long way with being able to communicate what he wants respectfully. And he's become just a natural leader with the boys in the class. And they look to him to know where to go and what are we playing today. And he's a great little kid, and he's grown so much this year outside. Oh, so this is it's not very pretty right now because it's all brown, but to create our safe environment. So I tied ribbons around the trees, and so that they know if they see a ribbon, it's time to turn around. And we've never had anyone go outside the boundary. We call it our boundary. And it's a really big space. And I don't know if you noticed, but they all have high vis vests on. And our very first day out in nature school, I did not have those vests. And I realized really fast we need something that I can see them no matter where we are. And so I ordered them really quickly. And then when we go outside, there's 3 of us teachers. And so we place ourselves 1, 2, and 3. There's never usually 2 of us in the same area. And so one's at the far end, one's in the middle, and one's at the other end. But there's these ribbons all around the boundary. So this is what it looks like. So we have our mud kitchen out there. And when I wanted to do nature school, I didn't want it to look like inside school. I wanted them to be able to create their own space. And so when I went out there to give them the nature school, it was more of just getting rid of the poison ivy, making sure there was nothing dangerous. We had to get rid of a beehive, and so it was things like that. I didn't want to do so much to the land that it didn't look like nature. and so that's just what it is. But it goes all the way around. It's a really great space. And so then this is just another the least disturbance. And this is a little bit more green, and you can see the spider. But so they're crawling over and under and around, and they've had to become more sure-footed in the woods because there's a lot I didn't get rid of. There's rocks and logs and all that fun stuff. So as you can see, it's very untouched. There is a little path that goes right through the middle. But that's just from there running back and forth. But it's not because I made the path for them, because I wanted them to be able to know and understand that you're allowed to go anywhere. So I did not make a path. They figured out the least resistance path, and that's usually where they stay for the class period. And then, so these are the high scope KDIs that we follow. We add them every time that we can. A lot of the science and math we take outside with us. It's just so easy to use those outside. But the last one, these are my goals for the upcoming year. So I wanted to be able to get more arts and crafts outside, besides just mud. Not that mud's not fun, but I wanted to be able for them to, if they wanted to sit and draw, or if they wanted to paint something that they see in the woods or something, I wanted to be able to bring that outside to them. So my goal is to contact our local Boy Scouts and see if they'd be willing to build us some tables. I already have a storage cabinet out there that we could put the paints and pencils or paper, whatever we need in. So I wouldn't necessarily need that. It's just more of like the spot that I would need for them to be able to, oh, this is where we can go to do this. The other really big thing is I want a pavilion, like a 3-sided pavilion with like a little roof, just in case someone wants to get out of the elements. I do have some warm-blooded kids that do not like the cold. I'm not too fond of it myself sometimes, but they're a lot smaller than myself. And so again, that's something that I'm gonna talk. I have a Boy Scout leader that I'm talking to right now, and she's gonna be putting me in some contact with the big guns, with the big guys that are gonna be able to say yes or no to me. And if not, then it might be a voluntold situation to my husband, and we'll see what happens. And so the next thing is just being able to bring more science outside. There are some experiments that I have been investigating. We want to put a pumpkin in the ground and put a whole bunch of stuff inside the pumpkin, all different kinds of things, natural things, plastic things. And then at the end of the season, dig it back up and see what's decomposed, what's not. But, and then we have some paths back there that lead us down to some water. But we haven't been adventurous enough. And so that's on our to-do list for the spring, possibly, if I'm trusting myself, is to go down to the water and explore the little creatures that are starting to warm up and to come out of the water. And then the very last thing is an outside toilet. So far, we've been very lucky, and we've not had to come back in for a bathroom break. But that luck is bound to run out sooner or later. And but that is one of those things that I'm going to look for another grant for. And there's grants out there for everything. And it's just a matter of taking the time and looking for what's going to work for us. But yeah, that's hopefully it's good enough. But those are our goals for this upcoming year. And then we're really excited to keep going. And the parents, we've had so many positive experiences and positive, encouraging words from the parents, and that they're very excited that their child got to participate in nature school. So that makes me know that I'm doing something right. We're doing something right here. So that's all I have.
Yeah, well, Molly, I just want to say, wow. In the past year, just to see how much you've been able to do and implement, it's just, yeah, it's incredible. I'm
Thank
so
you.
excited to be hearing about that. And I personally resonated with the voluntold thing with my husband because he's gotten involved in a lot of projects that he would probably rather
Yes.
not,
Yes. Yes.
being
Yeah.
voluntold. So. Wow. Yeah, Molly, you're doing some incredible. It's so fun to see how much you've done just in the just 1 year. And so it's
Yeah.
just incredible. So,
I like to jump in and just do it. When I get a fire lit, I like to get it done. So,
yeah, well, what we'll do now is we'll open it up to questions. So if you're able, you can unmute yourself. You're welcome to ask some questions or throw them in the chat, and we can definitely ask them. While some folks are thinking about that, Molly, could you just tell me a little bit more about, I know you mentioned you have 3 teachers that come outside with you all.
yes.
How many
Yeah.
students do you have?
So we have 16 in each class. So our para is hired by Warsaw Community Schools. So we have 4 students that are brought in by the community. And so 4 of our students, they're autistic or nonverbal, um, but not autistic. So like we have different variations. So our para is there to help those children. But
Thank
we
you.
have 16 in each class, and that's as big as our classes can go. We can't, for our inside, we can't have any more than that.
Yeah. Joe, I know you have a question. Thanks for raising your hand. I
Oh,
didn't know that was a thing on.
You bet. Molly, I'm so grateful that you took time to share all this.
you're
Uh,
welcome.
the question I have, I get a lot from teachers who are thinking about doing this. They're
Yes.
afraid of learning loss because of the increased time outdoors and unstructured play. So someone like you who's been doing this for 20 years,
Yeah.
high scope curriculum, you used high scope before you took it outside.
Yes. Yeah.
Have you seen evidence of learning loss or evidence of learning gain, or has it stayed the same?
It's no learning loss at all. I would say it's the complete opposite. It's
Mhm.
um because there's so much they can learn by being outside other than just ABCs, even though you can learn your ABCs outside. Um, like we've built our ABCs with sticks and rocks, and we have our thermometers that are numbers, and and we talk about degree. There's just so much more than just book learning that you can learn outside. And I would say it was the complete opposite of that. And I feel like their confidence in themselves has grown so much um in this last year. And then they bring it into the classroom, if that makes any sense. They've found their confidence outside, and it kind of resonates into the classroom. I have not I have not seen any lack. Yeah.
That's a
It's,
powerful testimony, Molly. With your experience,
yeah.
that's a message we need to make sure gets shared because
Yeah.
that's a fear that people have. So that's cool. But appreciate your enthusiasm and your dedication.
Well, you were
Um,
one of the teachers that put the fire there. So
yeah, the
I
fire was there. All we did is, you know, get a little
claimed
the
it.
get the dumpster off the top of it
Exactly.
and allowed
Exactly.
you to do it. So I can't wait to come see your program.
Anytime.
I'd love to come visit it.
Yeah.
Honestly, anytime.
That's awesome.
Molly, we had a question in the
Yes.
chat is how
Yes.
much time do you spend outside during the day?
So our classes are half day. So we are out there for the entire half day. We come into the classroom. We don't meet outside. I know some nature schools, they get dropped outside. But since we don't have a bathroom outside, we do a bathroom break before we go outside. So from 9:15 to 11:30, we're outside. We eat snack outside. We take our water bottles with us. We have our first aid kits. We have all the essentials that we would need so we wouldn't have to come back inside. So 2.5 hours, give or take.
And is that every day or you go outside
So
some
we do
days?
nature school 2 times a week. Um, with this being our first year, we're trying to test the waters to see what it would look like. We're not sure if we're going to add an additional day next year or maybe just an additional day during the warmer months. I know that's maybe a cop out, but um,
Whatever
but
works.
yeah, exactly. But right now it's just 2 days a week. So we do Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Okay. And I'm assuming parents kind of know that going into it, like you're advertising that as part of
Yes.
your program.
Yep. Yep.
One of the other questions is it says this looks like a beyond space. So do you also have a play space that's a little bit closer to the building or?
No, no, it's just that one place.
Okay.
Yep. We have the playground that is right outside of our door, but not our nature school. It's a bit of a hike and they know it and they're ready for it. We usually sing songs to help them get there, a little bit smoother. But it's not horribly far.
Yeah.
But we wanted to be away from the cars. We wanted to be away from other people so it wouldn't disturb. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, go ahead, Joe.
Sorry, I'll have a lot of questions
That's
It's
okay.
okay.
and comments, but the walk, Molly, don't sell that short. That walk is really
Yes.
valuable for the child in
Sure.
terms of self-regulation, care for one another, even getting their brain in the mindset of transitioning from indoor to outdoor space.
Absolutely.
So
Yes.
I know
Absolutely.
Goshen has a program that I visited, and I will say those children walked 15 minutes to get to their space.
Okay.
Uh,
I would
it,
say ours is about 10-ish minutes,
yeah,
depending on how fast they feel that day. So,
no, I think that's really valuable.
okay.
Motor skills, endurance, warming
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
But the other thing I want to mention, this is really not a question, it's a comment. You mentioned your four needs of or three needs, I guess, toilet, pavilion, and tables.
Tables. Yeah.
Don't hesitate to reach out to your families and the parents. At
Oh,
least alert them to your need, and
okay.
they might have resources that you haven't thought of, or they might have husbands and wives who are willing to contribute
That
or
that
build
they can
their
get
with their
voluntold for.
time. But parents are getting as energized as you are by their children coming home with these stories.
Yeah.
And if you let parents know, hey, I really could use some help getting a three-sided lean-to put up, you might
Okay.
have a dad who just loves building shelters because he's a
Okay.
hunter,
Yeah.
and
Oh, that makes a lot of sense,
and
actually. I
he'll
didn't
come
even
in and do it for you, and it could be cool. It wouldn't cost you anything, and he could do it in a way that looks really natural
see, and
versus
that's
a
what I want.
prefab thing from
Yeah, I
Home
don't want
Depot.
anything plastic or anything like that. I just want
You know?
something very simple. I don't need anything crazy, but
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
I think you'll find people who help you. The other
Okay.
success I've had is with like the local Lions Club.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, okay.
any community organization that you have that's really into stuff. We all think of the Boy Scouts, but where I live, there's a theater group over at West Noble that
Mhm.
those theater kids volunteer so much of their time, and they're
Oh,
so
that's
into
awesome.
helping people. And if they knew you had that need, they would there would be a team of them that would choose that as a service project.
Oh, I
National
love
Honor
that.
Society.
Okay.
Just let people know what you need, and they'll come help you.
I love that.
And I would
Yeah.
also recommend Molly in your area with some of your big industry like Zimmer Biomet. They're always looking to throw money at some stuff
They're
like
all,
that. And I don't know if you know, like, I'm sure
yeah.
they have a community coordinator or liaison. I know when I worked over at Chain of Lakes, they would come and do like giant work days for us. So I would
Oh,
see your site being even more of a potential just since you're literally in their backyard.
okay.
Well, and you've got it so nicely laid out with the skills that children are achieving.
Mm-hmm.
That workforce development mindset that a lot of people have,
Okay.
you're feeding right into that. And you're not doing it for workforce development, but that's the
Yeah.
language they speak.
Okay.
And I think they would connect with what you showed us today.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Those are great ideas. Thank you.
Yeah. I think another question that some folks might have is, I know you mentioned you applied for some grants. I believe one of those was a DECO
They
grant.
both were. They
They
both
both
ended
were
up being
DECO.
deco. So they were both deco, but they weren't the same grant. They were at different seasons of the year. And I applied for the winter one, and I had to do like an interview, which I did not have to do for the rain gear. And so she had to come to the school and I had to answer questions, and I think we got the second one not necessarily so easily, but we had sent them pictures of the kids in the rain gear and they really love to see their money get used towards what we said that we were going to do. And so, um, but yes, they were both Deco grants.
Perfect. Any other last minute questions or words of affirmation for Molly?
Yeah, anything. I'll take anything.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Molly. I am just, yeah, like I said, I'm just completely in awe. I'm like, I don't know
Oh,
why you're coming to us for field trips when you have this great space
because
that
I
you guys are
like it.
utilizing. Just stay there. But yeah, we're so excited for you and yeah, the
Thank
success
you.
with your program and yeah, excited to hear how I know it's going to continue to grow and thrive and yeah,
I am very excited as well.
we're
Very
so
excited.
excited for you. So perfect. So to wrap it up, just want to um, share out or open up the floor. So if anybody has any resources that you want to share, I know on our end of things, we just wrapped up our Outdoor Wilderness Learning for Educators, our OWL program we
Mm.
just hosted. This past month, we had 12 educators that were joining us for those 3 days and just had a fantastic time. But does anybody know of any other upcoming trainings or webinars for folks to watch? Anything on the horizon?
The Indiana Early Childhood Conference is at the end of this month, down in Indianapolis, and there's usually at least some nature-based kind of programming with that. I'm doing one like highlighting different approaches. So Molly, if you don't mind, I'd love for your email to reach out to you to highlight the approach that you're taking with 2 days a week outside kind of
Mhm.
thing with that. But then other people too, other
Yeah.
ones as well.
Perfect. Anything else that's on people's radar? Joe, you have anything in your realm?
Well, there are a lot of online resources happening. If you just connect with those online communities, I mean, there's more webinars than I can attend.
Yeah.
But I do love a lot of what Antioch of New England does. And they have started, they call it their In Bloom, I think is what they call it, In Bloom workshops. But they've started day-long workshops that they do once a month at different sites, and they're really special. So anybody who's wanting to travel to see something, unfortunately, you have to do them in person. But I wish somebody in Indiana would start working on that here. And I know I'm someone who could do that, but I need some help here. I think we could start something like that because they're so valuable and they're affordable, and it's going to places and meeting Molly in her native environment
Mhm.
and having her walk us through her stations. It's not a big deal. It's just something that's really simple and sweet. It's just a matter of coordinating it. So maybe Echo. I know Mary Lee's already got a full plate, but I think it's something you could really do as a service.
Mm.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Joe.
Yep.
All
And
right.
Carla
Well,
said she would help
oh,
with it too. Awesome, Carla.
yeah. Well, in
Hey,
the
I wanted to pop on. Molly, I just got back, so home. So I wanted to pop on and say, we have a bunch of the things that Molly's been wishing for. So I would love if I could connect with you. I'm gonna drop my email in the chat, but I would love to connect with Molly and maybe schedule a time when we can like meet up and we can walk around each other's spaces because we're super close to each other.
I
So
would
I
love
think that would
that.
be awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, that would be
Yeah.
so cool.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, we're not super far, and I've got time in my schedule that I could maybe do a tour with you and walk you through our spaces. Maybe I could
Okay.
come visit you. That would be super awesome.
Okay.
I
No,
would
I
love
would
it.
love
I was listening in and I loved everything you were talking about. I wish I could have like watched it. So maybe I'll get the recording and like watch all the slides because I was only
Absolutely.
listening, but I was loving it all.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sounds
So
good.
I'll drop my email in the chat and we'll hook up.
Okay. I am okay.
Sounds great. Well, just last reminder is our next Echo Network will be on Monday, May 12th. So in a couple months, I know some folks will be wrapped up from school, some folks will be wrapping up school at that time. We are still trying to nail down a speaker. So if anybody, Melissa or Carla, or if anybody's looking, that is the one date we still have available for the rest of this year. So send some recommendations our way. Otherwise, I'm sure we'll line up somebody absolutely fantastic. So,
Caitlin, I'll recommend Melissa. Melissa, you should highlight like Molly did today. That's so valuable. And she gave you a template right there. So I'd
there we
love to
go.
see what
Maybe
you got
I'll,
going in at Oak Farm too.
yeah, maybe I'll follow up with you, Melissa.
Yeah.
And I know we'll have some students and staff over at Oak Farm in the next couple of weeks as well. So maybe we can hit you from a couple sides. So,
Not
Caitlin,
so much of a
Wonder
speaker.
Academy was just at Owls. That would be another person I'd recommend.
hmm
They'd be willing. I don't want to put Melissa on the spot, but they would be willing to do something too, I bet.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, I would say let's get out of here. You all get outside, enjoy this beautiful day. Thank you so much for joining us. Molly, like once again, thank you so much. It was so
No
great to hear about
problem.
your site, and we will see you all at the next Echo.
Thank you.
Thanks.